Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another short, little unboxing video to share with you guys, something from CJRB. So typically, I like to open CJRB boxes in bunches because there's not an enormous amount going on there, right? So sometimes it's better for me or more fun for me to look at, them in groups just to see variation. And I appreciate CJRB for bringing things to the market that are not horrifically expensive. Even if a lot of the stuff that I've checked out from them lately has been on the more boring side. However, this box came in unexpectedly, and it's just one box, and it came by itself, and it's really heavy. Like heavier than I would normally have expected from CJRB. So I am really intrigued. If you're seeing this video, it means that whatever is in here was interesting enough to upload. So I will link this down in the description. You guys can check it out if you want to. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks to CJRB for sending this in. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. And make sure your notifications are turned on for the Metal Complex YouTube channel. We'll go ahead and break these sticker seals here. So this is the, okay, so this is the Tundra. Oh, is this the big one? Oh, so they did a premium one. No wonder it's heavy. So the Tundra, I'll link it as well. They make like a budget version of the Tundra. I can't remember if it's actually under 75 or not. But it's like one of the more practical knives that still qualifies in my book as overbuilt for a number of reasons. But it was G10 and, what was it, like D2? So this is their, oh jeez. Oh boy, cool. So this is their premium variation in S35VN. Now, you can, if you buy this, right, I mean, this isn't a very good looking lanyard. And honestly, the way that this is tied on here, I feel like it's probably meant to be removed. I don't think they actually want you, I mean, you could, right? You could say like, oh, it's for like putting on your wrists. And then when you go to chop stuff, it doesn't fly out of your hand. And you know what? Okay, fair. I would cut this off and then I would attach this pin, which by the way, is a secondary stop pin. I would attach it to my keys or something like that. Truthfully, I think the best designs for these secondary pins, I mean, you could totally leave it on there and use it just like this. What does this do? It's an additional stop so that more of the force is mitigated away from both the pivot and the frame lock. The frame lock is only as strong as its relief cut. And while it is plenty fine, and generally speaking, while you are holding on to a frame lock, I mean, if you're not doing this is why like an incredibly heavy spine whack test is such a stupid test, because there's no natural position you're going to be in, right? What if I'm nailing together my shelter? What if I fall out of a helicopter and land on the island? Gotta hammer together my shelter. Durr. Okay, idiot. In that case, yeah, then you would use that knife that way, I guess, if there's absolutely nothing else around that you could possibly use to nail together a shelter. The reason I'm mocking that is somebody actually used that as an argument a long time ago. Anyways, I'm joking around. The frame lock itself is usually fine because while you're using the knife like a knife and not like everybody's grandpa and Uncle Jerry taught them, as a hammer, screwdriver, pry bar, all of that, right? Turns out we have tools for those already. And even if you want to carry a pocket-sized item that can do that, we also have tools called multi-tools that have all of that stuff on them. So there's no excuse to use a blade like that. Everybody who thinks that is just wrong, period. And I know that sounds nose in the air and snobby and elitist and all of that, but I'm right. I'm just right about that. I'm sorry. That's just something that people need to hear. And so you heard it from me today. Most of my audience knows that, but there's always a few people there's still tons of people who believe that. So using your knife, your frame lock as a knife and not as those other things would require you to grip the knife here, which is going to hold that lock into place. But in some situations, like for example, if you are doing heavy duty cutting into thick or dense material and the blade gets wedged, and so you're rocking it and pulling it back out, perhaps doing a little, prying this way or that way, right? Up and down, left and right force can cause, in some cases, the geometry that is, required to keep the frame lock in place to slip and the frame lock to disengage, right? Now, if you are, you're doing something that, there's impact on the blade, the force is slightly mitigated by the stop pin, but a lot of the force goes into the weakest part of a folding knife, which is the pivot, and also into the frame lock and ultimately the relief cut. So these are obviously weaknesses of a folding knife. Cue the guy in the jean jacket who's all sweaty running up to tell us that fixed blades are superior because they don't fold. That's correct, sweaty jean jacket guy. Fixed blades are superior. But anyways, this secondary pin, this is a weird upload, isn't it? This secondary pin. I'm entertaining myself. That's what I'm doing here. This secondary pin mitigates a lot more of, in the craziest scenario, impact, spine impact. There should really never be spine impact, right? What if I'm batoning for my shelter? Then use a fixed blade. What if I don't have a fixed blade? Well, then I guess you're SOL. But in the event that you are beating on the back of your knife, a secondary pin mitigates more of that force away from the weakest parts of the folding knife. And when you are, prying or whatever you're doing that you shouldn't be doing, again, it's mitigating it away from the weakest parts of the knife. Ultimately, I think this is more gimmicky and overkill than anything because it sort of suggests that a knife should be used or can be used in scenarios like that, when in reality, they really should not be, right? And you should, just like sweaty jean jacket guy says, you should actually be using a fixed blade in those scenarios. And honestly, in a lot of those scenarios, there's probably a better tool to be used, like a hatchet, right? Or an actual hammer. Only very specifically, there's only a few very specific scenarios where you absolutely must use a fixed blade and hammer on the spine of it. Though like a batoning is definitely a good example of that, right? But folding knives are, I would say, exactly never the most optimized tool for that. But if you find yourself crashing on a desert island, right? You survived the helicopter crash because you're Rambo or whatever, and for some reason the only thing you have with you is this knife, and you must baton. Well, you might live for a few more days. I don't know. That's kind of what I honestly think about it. It is neat though, and ultimately, if anything else, I think the best use, the most realistic use for this is just general peace of mind. If you're going to use this knife in a scenario where like, I'm sure that the lock won't disengage, but I am going to have to use this thing really hard. So I'm going to go ahead and put the pin in there just to make sure, just to give me peace of mind that it's not going to disengage on my hand, right? And in that sense, I think that's a totally logical thing there. Now, pin aside, this is actually a super cool knife. And, you can take all my, where I'm poking fun at different groups of people, and, maybe you're wearing a jean jacket right now and you're a little bit sweaty and you feel a little called out. Right? Don't take it personally. I'm just joking around. This is actually one of those knives for people who enjoy carrying overbuilt knives, not because they need them. When I say overbuilt, I'm mainly talking about, the total amount of material and the thickness of the material, right? Titanium frame and the blade are pretty thick. If you like that stuff, you don't necessarily need it, right? I mean, nobody really needs an overbuilt pocket knife. You just like to carry it. But the problem with overbuilt knives is that a lot of them are mega cumbersome, and so they're not really enjoyable to carry. This is one of the easier overbuilt knives to carry. It's definitely in the proponent family, kind of makes me think of that, but it's not quite as big or ridiculous. Now, obviously, this is going to be heavier than the standard budget version because we're looking at full titanium instead of steel liners and G10. Why does this always go back to fluid ounces? It's so weird. So the weight of the titanium one, very heavy still at 9.2 ounces. This is still a big knife, and you're going to kind of have to, no, it's totally fine. I don't even notice it as your pants are on the ground, right? You're going to need to wear a belt. Not a knife that you're going to want to wear with dress pants, athletic shorts, or anything super fitted, right? If you're in like work pants, cargo pants, right? Jeans or whatever that are not like skinny, like jeans. Still, probably going to want to be wearing a belt for sure. But it is a little more pocketable than other things in the general competition zone that you could also label as overbuilt. I would like to go ahead and measure this as well as measure the blade stock thickness just so you guys can get a good idea. So the overall length of this guy comes in at That's just shy of 9, 8.8, 8.85 with a blade length of 3.85 and a cutting edge of 3.65. So let's measure the blade stock thickness. And also, I almost never do this, but I think I also want to measure like the frame width or total frame thickness. We'll do blade stock, which I'm going to tell you right now, that's about 195 to 200. Like it's about 1/5 of an inch. Told you. Okay, that's a little less. 180. What does it say? 188. 1/5 of an inch, roughly. Your blade or your frame scales here, your titanium scales, are going to come in at also about 190 thousandths. And then your total frame thickness here, that's going to come in at 603 thousandths. So, did I read that correctly? Yeah, I'm correct. Okay. So it's big. Like it's a big knife. You have the extra pin there. Does the pin really help that much? No, probably not. Ultimately, stuff that Cold Steel has had available, for decades is, going to be, vastly superior. And, and there at that point, it's so ridiculously overkill, right? Most of the time, in fact, all of the time, the right answer is, if you're even questioning it, if you're even having to question it, if we're even having to talk about it, the answer is probably a fixed blade. And that is a very narrow space where the right answer is a fixed blade and not an entirely different tool. But ultimately, does it matter if you just want to enjoy it because it's kind of neat? And the answer is no, it doesn't matter at all, right? Even if there is no specific optimized place for a frame lock and a detachable secondary stop pin, it's okay because it's kind of neat and it's kind of fun. Anyways, this video's gone on long enough. This is pretty cool and it's made really well. Honestly, it feels a lot better internally than a lot of other artisan cutlery knives that I've handled from past years. I feel like artisan cutlery might be, at least with some of their models, taking it a step forward in terms of machining quality and just, tolerances, things like that. This feels pretty good. S35EN in titanium, I'd be pumped to see this at about $200. That's what I expect to see it at. And at that price, again, if it's that price, not too far over, if you're big into overbuilt knives, but you want to carry one that's actually pocketable, this or its G10 and steel budget counterpart would be a good buy for those people specifically. That's going to be it from me today, guys. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.